Hi, and welcome to Think It, Believe It, and Achieve It. My name is Chanday Langworthy, and thank you for joining me here today. This is the show where you will find motivation, inspiration, and encouragement to become the best version of yourself. Now, today I have another great show. I have a returning special guest that's going to be talking about the campaign for City Council. And as many of you may know, Cammy Watkins, rather Camellia, better known as Cammy Watkins, is going to be joining me today. She has a voice for matters that mean so much to her. She's an advocate for community development and restructure. I would really like for you guys to watch this show today and get some of the information that's going on in the community about campaigning, about what she will be doing once elected. So joining me today is Camellia, better known as Cammy Watkins, running for City Council in Omaha, Nebraska. What is it, the 3rd district?
Yep, District 3.
District 3. So let's just jump right into it. How have you been, first of all, since your last time you visited us was back in November?
Yes.
When you were just getting things underway for for running for City Council. So what is it like now? What has been the campaigning journey? What has that been like for you?
Chanday, it has been such a roller coaster ride from here. And thank you so much for having me back to talk about it.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
I've had the chance to meet and connect with so many people, and there are folks that I did not even know that were perfect strangers to me before this campaign that now, like my team that I work with that have been helping me, have thought that the individuals are like longtime friends because they are so generous. Like, I have been blown away by the number of people that have really just shown up and just embraced me and wrapped themselves around what we're trying to do, simply because they've heard me speak or that they saw the values of the campaign and what we were trying to do, and are just like, you are truly a genuine leader, and we want to help you get there.
And you know what? I think when people meet you, you can just feel that positive, genuine, sincere love. You can really feel it. I mean, it resonates from you just when you enter a room. So let me ask you this. What have you learned from speaking to the residents about what means so much to them in the community? What have you learned as you speak to residents? And were you like knocking on door to door, or what was your campaign like as far as that?
Yeah, so we actually did a lot of what we called porch parties, or like backyard parties. With the pandemic, we wanted to be really conscientious about requiring people to be in spaces or knocking on their doors where you're walking up to someone's house and they may not be comfortable meeting with a stranger. So we had a lot of like neighborhood leaders that invited us to just come to their home, and they hosted something outside. We did pop-ups and like large at the Inner Rail and Exarban, so where we would just kind of show up, and then so we would go where people were already at, and then they could have the chance to just see and meet with us. But the biggest thing that I was hearing from people is their desire for a strong neighborhood and strong communities.
Oh, yes.
And doing that through better transportation, through better housing. And all of those pieces that make a community more than just the taxes or the streets or the roads, but it was about people and wanting to have a stronger, better city that was supporting the people that live in it.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So then that leads me to ask you, what are you most excited about if you are elected? What really resonates with you and really gears you up, get that energy flowing if you are elected?
You know, I'm most excited to just get to work. There are a lot of things that are happening, and every time I talk to somebody, there's a city statute or an ordinance or just this process that we're doing in our city that seems really slow, and it feels like there's barriers, but it's just a small kind of shift of mindset or an opportunity, just someone to bring it up and ask the right question of, why are we doing this way?
I love the questions when it pertains to why, because why is really the root why is something happening or why is it not happening? So why is a real key component to really start in a change or a movement? Why this needs to take place, why we need to do these things. And I am a firm believer, once we understand the why, how we're gonna do it is irrelevant. Why is the key. And once we understand why, then I think that structure is just that much more founded.
Absolutely.
Founded in the process. So what has been your favorite experience during this campaign? What have you experienced that really has touched you in a way?
You know, there's so many, but I would say probably my absolute favorite. So we've been doing a lot of community outreach and work in the Field Club neighborhood, which is just celebrated 20 years of being designated as a National Historic Neighborhood in Omaha. So not only are they a historic neighborhood, but it's been 20 years that they were designated as a historic neighborhood.
So what's the name of it?
The Field Club.
The Field Club, that's the name of
the neighborhood.
The
area.
neighborhood, the
and
Field
it's about
Club.
35th Street, or it's 36th Street to about 33rd-ish, or 32nd really, and then it goes as far as maybe Poppleton Street to Center.
Okay, so that experience of...
Well, so that neighborhood has a lot of really interesting, not only is the architecture cool, but then there's a lot of really interesting people in there. And one of the people that we met is a architect who also happened to be a pilot. And yeah, so he was talking to us about like architecture, and he's asking me all these really great questions about research and what I've done to prepare to run. And then he asked me, have you done a flyover of the district yet?
Oh, wow.
And I said, and I assumed he meant with a drone. And I was like, no, I haven't done that.
No,
but you know, that's a really great idea. No. He meant, have I gotten into a plane and flown
flew
over the district?
I figured that's what he was meaning. Oh my goodness.
And
that was...
Yes, so we got to go up and
fly over the district. Oh my goodness, because he's a pilot, right?
Yes.
So what were you in, an actual plane, a helicopter, or what?
It was a little 4-seater plane.
Oh wow.
And so myself and my communications manager came along with me, and it was good because they were able to take the pictures, because I was just like, I can't even focus to get a picture or a video or anything.
Wow, that was amazing.
Yes.
That's a once in a lifetime thing that you actually get to, you know, like when you see the news reporters, they in Skycam, they're over the cities, but you never think it'll be you over the cities, looking over the city that you potentially will be elected to govern. Yeah. Oh, that's really amazing. So great, that was a great experience. What do you think about as it relates to diversity, equity, and inclusion as it relates to the community, and how it's handled now as opposed to where you see it going in that area of diversity, you know, equity, inclusion? Where is it, and where would you like to see it go?
So right now, I think there's a lot of people have a bunch of assumptions about what our neighborhoods and our communities look like, and they're basing it off of information from probably 10, 15 years ago.
Okay.
Our city has changed.
Okay.
Our city is steadily getting more diverse, but then also because we're not really acknowledging and respecting that and valuing it and giving opportunity for economic growth and wealth and distribution, folks are leaving. But the demographics of the eastern part of the city, including my district, when I tell folks, you know, everyone is concerned about affordable housing in this district, they always say, your district? Absolutely. Like, there is not one person that I have talked to that has not brought up neighborhoods and affordable housing or transportation.
Okay.
And those are issues that pertain to mostly moderate income families. So these are those of us that are in those kind of mid-level jobs. Okay. Not all of us have this large, expansive income. And especially if you're living in a city at the urban core, it's because you want to be in a cultural area. So I think the city has not done a great job about really valuing the diversity and equity, or the diversity here, and therefore it hasn't been as equitable or inclusive, but a change is on the horizon. Okay. And people are ready for us to value those things, and there's a lot of people that are asking for that. We're wanting to see a more equitable city because we understand that if everyone is thriving, then we're all thriving.
Then we're all thriving. Then we are all thriving. But it takes like a village. One person, no one can do it alone. So even like, you know, in success, people say, you know, well, I'm successful, but it has taken a team to help you get there.
Correct.
And that's the same that I feel even in city council or any organization, that it takes a real team and a great leader to move, to see the change come about, to really see results in measurable time.
Absolutely.
So I really resonate with that in building a great team, being a great leader, and building a team that really will show the community that we stand together and we build together.
Absolutely.
And that is very important. So does it really, why does it really matter to you that people come out and vote? You know, a lot of times you hear people say, well, I don't vote because it doesn't do anything. It doesn't make, I don't see any change. It's just, you know, so we are in a hopeless mindset when it comes to voting. What do you feel is needed to let people know why it's important to vote?
You know, I think we have to start showing folks first that we are not just talking heads. And we have to be out in the community doing things, not just saying what we're going to do, which is one of the big pieces of that in Jasmine's campaign, in Naomi Hathaway, who's running in District 6, in mine, and Sarah Johnson's, all of the other really strong women that have been running for these seats. Kimra's running for mayor as well, is we've been going out and doing community cleanups. We're doing food giveaways. We're doing houseware drives to support families. I need people to see that it can't change if we don't vote.
Right.
So that assumption that, well, nothing ever changes, well, nothing ever changed because you didn't vote.
Right,
There's a gentleman, Roger Garcia, who ran for the county commissioner's office against someone who's been in office for far too long. Great man, but it's time for change and difference. He lost by 3 votes. And so in a city election, every single vote counts. Right. And so to sit out, if you really, like all the things that we really complain about, our trash, our streets, these potholes, all of those things can be impacted in your city election. And it's decided by your mayor, it's decided by your city council member. And those of us that were really upset and saddened that neither Jasmine or Kimra are going to be able to run against Jean for mayor, it's because not enough of us showed up for them. Okay. And so if we want to see candidates like myself and others get elected, you have to show up, you have to vote.
Because that one vote could cost us everything and could be the difference in, you know, things staying the same or change. And change is always needed.
Absolutely.
Change is always needed because, as you mentioned earlier, we're not 10 years ago, 15 years ago. This is a new day, a new age, and we need new things to be on the horizon. Absolutely. We need to really assess what is going on, and the same things are not necessarily today that was yesterday or many years ago. So what do you think we should do to bring about positive involvement as far as the community? Okay, so as I was saying before, it takes a great leader. The leader needs a great team. Now, okay, so I get that. Now, when it comes to community involvement as citizens, what should we be doing to and with our communities and our leaders and those team players to help elevate the communities? Because again, one person can't do it. So what do we need to be doing, and how can we get involved to help this change come about that's needed?
Absolutely. We need to step into our power and recognize that these officials aren't greater than us. Okay. Our elected officials are not better than us, and they don't know more than us. In fact, you are the educator that needs to teach me. And if we start to recognize that, and I think there's a really strong intention where politicians try to make the people in the community feel like, well, I know more than you do in this. That's not the case. The community, we should be guided by you as the teachers. So if you see an issue, if there's something that you care about or something that you know about, you are the expert of your own life experiences.
Absolutely.
And if you see something that you want to have changed, whether or not you know it's something that your city council representative or your mayor can fix, you call them, because that is our job. And I can't address things if I don't know that it exists.
That's a great point. So, for example, when you say call, say something, do something, at what level, who do you start with if you want to, number one, voice your opinion or get involved, even if it's volunteering? Like, where would the average person start if they wanted to really get involved and be a part of a campaign or, you know, change in the city?
Yeah, social media is almost every candidate is involved, has a social media website, so search them there, or social media account. That's one of the best ways, because for many of us, we're responding. If you send us a Facebook Messenger, it's me responding to you.
Okay.
But then also, I think on the city level, for your incumbents, if you go on the city, if you Google search Omaha City Council and look up like your district, and if you don't know your district, go on my website, and we have how to vote for Cammy on the home page. If you click on that, it takes you to a page where you can look up and find out what city council district you're in, and then it has the recommendations of who we really see we would work really well with, and who we could partner best with in the districts.
Oh, okay, that sounds great, because I know a lot of times you hear people complaining, but they don't, that's all they do is complain. So it's just great to me to have the general public or your average person know where to start when you hear, well, they should do this, they should do that. Well, you're just having a conversation with you and I, but you and I mean, yes, we can take that information, but really it's important to get it to the people who are making the changes, who are out there servicing the communities and making sure that things are moving in a way that's going to be beneficial.
Absolutely.
To
well, because we have to hold their feet to the fire, because even though I'm working really hard to be a representative of the community, there's going to be times I'm going to make a mistake.
Right.
And I need you to call me on it.
Right.
Because I can't be pushing if no one else is telling me, oh, Cammy, we need you to look at this differently, consider this. And whether we agree or end up agreeing or disagreeing, you are still a very important part of our democracy in being involved. So the residents and the citizens of the city are just as important as the elected officials.
Absolutely, and that's my point. We are just as important as our leader, as the team that's building the community. So I just think it's important for all of us to take in consideration whatever little bit we have to give. A little, I always say this, a little can go a long way. You know, if it's even just like you say, reaching out to me to let me know, you know what, did you consider this, or what about that? So that's just a bit of information for the viewers and the general public, is that we all are needed to make a change in this. And I think that's very important. I want to touch on this really quick. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but what is it really hurt my heart when I hear about gun violence and senseless murders and these things like that. What is your take on that, and what do you think we can do to really help bring this, I mean, to a minimum? It's out of, just not locally, but you know, city, statewide, nationally. Where's the missing link here?
I think that we have become a city that's decided to solve problems with violence too often.
Okay. Yes.
And I, from the very beginning of all of this campaign, I've been saying I am an anti-violence candidate.
Amen.
I don't believe in violence to solve problems. I don't believe in trauma to solve trauma.
Right.
And because we have not figured out, and we don't have those real conversations about how do we truly seek justice, how do we truly solve problems or conflict without attacking each other, and there's too many harmed people in our society that then they harm others as a way to resolve their own pain. And we need to figure out what healing looks like. And that's from all levels. So there's systemic changes that have to happen in the way that we address crime, and the ways in which that we address just poverty and trouble in our communities. And the way that we're going at it now is not smart. So we need to reimagine completely how we deal with people who are traumatized or who are causing trauma.
I agree with that. I agree with that because I think it starts with reconditioning the mindset. Because the moment we get angry or don't have our way or, you know, something doesn't go our way, instead of us processing it logically in a sensible manner, you know, we run and pick up guns. I just don't understand that. And then that's just my take on it, you know, and I hope and I pray that, you know, individually as well as collectively, we can come up with some resolution for this issue in itself because it is out of control. And that's just my opinion about that. But I hope and pray that change will come specifically for that, because once we can kind of get a hold of that, I think everything else will you know, fall in place. So moving on with the homeless, and like you were saying about bringing in not affordable housing so that we can overcome this homeless gap that we have seen over the years across the country. So what would be one of the first steps, because I know that's one of the things that really resonates with you, what would be one of the first things that you would do if elected that would help that gap in homelessness?
So I think the very first thing we have to do is pass a right to counsel ordinance for the city. What research, and the city of Baltimore did this earlier, either late last year or early in 2021. But essentially, the evictions, if you look at where evictions are happening around most cities, there's these hot spots, and they all happen to be in either areas of high poverty or people of color.
Okay.
And especially with the COVID and several people losing their jobs, the eviction courts were still running, even though there was supposed to be a moratorium on them. And out of 100 cases, every single landlord or property owner has an attorney to represent them, and only 4 people that are up for eviction have had an attorney. And they say that is the single best way to ensure the rights of the tenant are protected as well as the rights of the landlord, by them just having an attorney.
Being able to be represented properly.
To make sure that, like, if there was some sort of violation or something that's legal, me as a layperson, to be arguing with an attorney who knows the law way better than I ever have, I'm at a disadvantage. So if we want a justice system, if we want justice, and that's what we all want, it's not about like letting people get free rent or destroy an apartment, it's about justice. And at the end of the day, we should all just be supporting, there should be justice in this system. And if there are 2 people in court, both of them should have an attorney so that we can make sure that it's a fair and just process.
Okay, well that's a great start. That's a great start. One thing I think, and I'm gonna wrap this up, we're gonna wrap this up, but one thing I think is that in building better tomorrow, starting today, I think we really have to, it starts in the thinking and in our mindsets, you know, and I think once we can get our mind moving in a positive direction and a motivated, positive way, you know, I think that'll be the start. But I think we have to start internally so that it can expand outwardly. And a lot of times with like the pandemic and all the different things that's going on in the world, nobody is really focused on that. We're just focused on this, you know, disparity.
Right now.
Yeah, and we're not looking at long terms. But my hope and my prayer is that we really do build a better tomorrow starting today, starting with a person as yourself, leading and guiding the city to change and to new reconstruction. So I'd like to say thank you, Cammy, for joining me today. And hopefully we'll see you again in victory on Think It, Believe It, and Achieve It. Until next time, thank you for joining me, and you have a very blessed rest of your campaign.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And we'll see you next time on Think It, Believe It, and Achieve It.